Full disclosure, the voice you are listening to now is artificially generated, brought to you by satisphonic.com. See the link in the description for more details. What is a good thing happening in the US right now that people aren't aware of? There's a guy in my hometown who hides thousands of dollars outside a children's rehab center, then calls the front desk and they have a little scavenger hunt until they find it. They then use the money to help families buy holiday gifts. No one knows who he is, but over the years, he's given over $100,000. It's usually front page news when the year's donation comes in. And you're telling me this guy isn't even filming it and making the front desk people express their gratitude on camera for the sake of clout and turning a profit? The nerve of some people. Amazing. If I were wealthy, quirky little things like this are what I focus my time and finances on. We've discovered a drug that places a significant pause on multiple sclerosis progression and are in trials for what could very well be the cure. Not only misses, but potentially all autoimmune disease, including Crohn's, type diabetes, arthritis, Lyme, and even allergy. Does this include celiacs? Gosh, I hope so. I miss bread. They had an open trial for celiac. It's closed now, but I applied for all their autoimmune future trials. Source: my wife has misses and we normally hear about this sort of thing from her friends, but I haven't heard of anything like this. Google inverse vaccine. If this works, it will be amazing. I have had misses for over 20 years, and although I am on one of the top tier drugs, it doesn't fully stop it, just slows it down significantly. A cure would help so many people. There was a breakthrough on rabies treatment vaccine recently. I'm at work, so we'll try to link when I get home. Teps, UW Press, org do a full 10.15,252, Eman, 202,012,628. Oh my god. This feels nearly as huge to me as the discovery of penicillin, a treatment for symptomatic rabies. That is insane. Whoa, holy shit. Symptomatic. A judge in NG or Power got tired of sending juveniles in his court into the system which often turned them to more criminal behavior and decided to partner with a non-profit and SON educators to organize a school with trade hands-on, learning opportunities with practical applications, apprenticeships, and other innovative elements. This model attracted top educators and professionals with innovative teaching methods, and soon the students were performing learning 90% going on to college or other advanced school. This began to get the attention of educator schools, who began to refer troubled teens with potential until there were no spots left. Soon it was a thriving alternative model with a wait list, attracting volunteers, resources, donors, educators, etc. All beyond a need, seen by a motivated judge and an innovative solution that bloomed. This is the type of program that deserves study, expansion, resources, after sponsorship. Makes you want to see it adopted by the Gates or other non-profit foundation, developed for broader use and adapted to local needs elsewhere in the country. Imagine if every city had this program. The cycle that this is breaking for these children is a huge impact, especially for that community. There is a new treatment for my brain cancer. There have been no advancements in like 40 years. I should be able to take it next year and it will hopefully delay my tumor growth. It's pretty exciting. I have done 2 clinical trials. One did not pan out. The other one, they won't have the information for probably another 6-10 years. I'm expecting an update from you in 10 years. Don't let me down. Sure thing. It's been just over 9 years for me, and my doctor sounded the most positive I've ever seen him. It's so good to hear people are benefiting so much from long-term research outcomes. I wish you all the best. I lost my grandmother 47 years ago, best friend 10 years ago, and a good friend's adult son 7 years ago to brain tumors of different kinds. A new national park is going to be created in Maine. The IRS is testing a program in 2024 that will let most people file their taxes for free right at their website, so that should save people a little cash this spring. I'm really hoping this works well. It's been talked about for a while. Hopefully by 2025, it will eliminate some of the people that are hoping to die in their positions instead of letting others take over and implement forward-moving changes within the IRS. I still stand by my belief that we should handle our taxes much like other countries do. They should just tell us what we owe and we pay it. Or better still, take out the correct amount and then we don't have to play a guessing game. I'm surprised Intuit hasn't lobbied this down yet. It kinda has been. There is a program called Is Free File, which a lot of people don't know about due to lobbying. Basically, you can already file your taxes for free, for a lot of people anyways. If you go through the free file link, no more $50, 100 year or more with TurboTax or alternatives. The sea stars on the West Coast are returning after suffering a wasting disease a few years back. As a former marine biologist and echinoderm lover, this makes me happy. Yay. Are the kelp forests improving too? Early career marine scientist here with a focus on kelp ecology. Not really. Too many purple urchins and warming doesn't help. But as things continue to improve with the sea stars and otters, things could change. Lots of kelp restoration attempts going on, but these are extremely resource intensive and unmanageable on an ecosystem scale. Note that kelp status is highly regionally specific. Kelp is actually improving where I am, Strait of Juan de Fuca, but that's an outlier when compared to the West Coast as a whole. This has been making news for the last few years, but still fun to share. River otters are returning to their natural habitats. They were almost wiped out across the US and Canada because of pollution for trading and development driving them out of their natural habitat. But thanks to efforts to clean up waterways and reintroduce the otters, they seem to be thriving and cropping up all over the country. In my city, Chicago, they were even spotted in the river last year and hadn't been seen there for decades. Edit. I find it utterly delightful that everyone is commenting with their otter sightings. Please continue. Been seeing river otters, muskrats, and beaver in our local lakes just outside Raleigh. And bald eagles are almost common too. It's a thrill to see. Beavers have also started to return to areas they haven't been seen in over a century. Recharge that groundwater, little dude. Possibly my favorite fact I learned in Yellowstone was the reintroduction of wolves to the park led to the return of beavers. Because of Mark Cuban, extremely cheap online pharmacy where you can get your prescription drugs for fractions of what major retailers like CVS or Walgreens sell them for. Now Sheevy's is beginning to switch to this model, so hopefully cheaper medicine for everybody will increasingly become a reality. Bro, you have got to be kidding me. I just looked it up and used the link you couple IDM posted, and I was able to see they have a medicine that I was prescribed over a month ago, and my insurance refused to cover, and Walgreens wanted close to $400 for a 30-day supply. Cuban has it for $22 for the monthly supply. Thank you so much. Faith in humanity slowly being restored. It's insane that Walgreens wanted so much for a generic drug. Shame on them. If you can't find a drug on Mark Cuban Cost Plus, you may want to try using a Good Drugs card and/or use Costco Pharmacy. Don't need to be a member, or try Amazon Pharmacy if you're a Prime member. I've been using Mark Cuban Cost Plus Drug Company and it saved me a bundle. Please note that they only carry generic drugs and they're not affiliated with many insurance companies. So your purchases there may not go towards your insurance deductible or yearly out-of-pocket maximum. You just saved me $360 per month. Thank you so much. There's hopeful treatment for tinnitus that's aiming to be available early 2024. Wear hearing protection, everyone. A breast cancer vaccine is in early clinical trial. My mother-in-law is in this trial right now. Saved her life. It's working. Oh Jesus, that makes me so happy. Right? So many people hate their mother-in-laws. It's nice to see someone getting along with theirs. I did a clinical trial for a vaccine for my brain tumor. Brain cancer is one of the most difficult cancers to treat, but I truly think vaccines will be so helpful, and this new wave of research makes me feel so hopeful. I have this cancer, triple negative breast stage 3, finished all my treatments this past May. I'm so thankful that in the past 2-3 years we have the immunotherapy drugs that have helped survival rates, and I'm so hopeful I've beaten it for good. But it is so aggressive that its good new therapies are being studied. As an internet stranger who lost his mother in '98 to it, I hope you continue to kick breast cancer ass and live a long, healthy life. To the readers, the Susan G. Komen bullshit really hurt this research to its core. But thankfully, it rebounded, and I hope if you are wanting to donate to research like this, you look into where your money goes and give to the worthy causes research. There are many who are above board, but more who pay the top people dollars while giving cents to the research. Fuck Susan G. Komen. For those who don't know, their official goal is to raise awareness of breast cancer, but they give almost nothing to research. They have literally sued small non-profits who have used race for the cure for fundraisers. Every year in Atlanta and surrounding areas, Clark Howard and affiliates raise donations to give literally every single kid in foster care gifts of their choosing for Christmas morning. They make the quota every year, and participating in it is a Christmas tradition at my house. Google Clark's Christmas Kids and give what you can. Clark Howard is a staple here in Atlanta and someone we always turn to for consumer news. It will be a sad day when he retires. Beekeeping and wildflower yards. Many folks are starting to actually do something to stave off ecosystem collapse by keeping honeybees and ditching yards for wildflowers and green spaces. Native is what is important here. We need more native bees, flora and fauna to support our ecosystems. If you are thinking of improving your garden, remove introduced species and plant local and native trees, shrubs and flowers. Edit, don't forget native grasses. IE is slowly learning to recognize whale language, meaning one day, successfully, we could be able to communicate with them, hopefully, thus working to help conserve their species. After some really scary news in the late zeros, bee populations have been steadily on the rebound. This news makes me super happy. We need bees. I run a hydroponic garden and have to hand pollinate my cucumbers, but can only do a few before my back starts to hurt. Bees are pretty great. This makes me happy to hear. I've started planting pollinators, friendly plants and perennials in an effort to help the bees. We've seen hummingbirds, butterflies, monarchs and swallowtails, hummingbird moths in the summer in our zone 5. We're killing cancer. Look at cancer survival rates over the last 5 years. Yes, my daughter is currently in remission from an extremely aggressive type of cancer. All the scientific papers, even from a few years ago, called the prognosis grim and basically unsurvivable. She currently has a solid chance of survival. I am so thankful this didn't happen 5 years earlier. As someone who lost a best friend, only 34 years old, to uterine cancer in 2021, this makes me both overwhelmingly happy and sad. Also lost my best friend in 2014. She made it 3 months. I was her daily caregiver. Stage 4 pancreatic. I can't wait for the day when I can tell her ashes that they finally got a cure for it. This sort of thing is why I had to loll privately at someone who recently commented that healthcare sucks now compared to 20 years ago. They were focused entirely on the customer service aspect of it, not the actual, healthcare aspect of it. Not the actual, healthcare aspect. Things that were a death sentence decades ago are now treatable with varying degrees of ease, and that's fantastic. I just had an outpatient surgery that took 45 minutes and had a recovery that basically consisted of taking an antibiotic prescription and an antihistamine while avoiding strenuous exercise for a week. I could go to work same day if I wanted to. Even 15 years ago, it would have been a somewhat invasive surgery with Oraton days of recovery in a ward. Healthcare is leaps and bounds above what it was even a decade ago. It's astonishing. I'm sitting in the waiting room of a surgery center. I am about to go in for nanosurgery on my knee. They are going to locally freeze me, and I will walk out in an hour or so a new man. The doctor told me that only a few years ago, this procedure would have required a general anesthetic in a hospital setting, which I couldn't risk because I have high blood pressure and a history of mini stroke. I am totally stoked. Tennis courts are coming back. One of the accounts I follow on Instagram just did a fundraiser to pay down medical debt around the country. RIP medical debt is what typical debt collections companies do and buys medical debt for pennies on the dollar. But instead of trying to still collect on it, they just forgive it. We raised over $1 million in a week, and it is going to completely forgive over $100 million in medical debt. It's a pittance compared to what's owed overall, and the healthcare system overall is a whole other thing, but it's going to change thousands of people's lives, and I think that's amazing. How do I buy my own medical debt for pennies on the dollar? Call whoever owns the debt and negotiate it down. It has to be past due, though, and it will affect your credit for a few years. That being said, it can cost you significantly less than the full debt would cost. Tucson has started an awesome pilot program to turn non-recyclable plastic waste into construction-grade building blocks. TEPS News, ASPAM Org News. Topical Sitewu trillion 23,516,216,011 plastic waste into construction blocks. Tucson strives for zero waste. Module. 10% 20% 20% 20% 20% 20% 20% 20% 20% 20%. I look in my community. COVID has changed a lot. Ordinary people are helping out ordinary people, either openly or in secret. There's a hole-in-the-wall Mexican restaurant near me. Not great food, but good amounts for cheap. I wondered why it had so many customers. They feed the homeless in the community. Some come and ask for food, or some help at closing and in exchange get food. They never say no and happily give them food and even ask if they want chips and salsa. As a way of contributing, customers leave huge tips. When my friend was diagnosed with breast cancer, her old next-door neighbor couple took care of her yard and checked in on her. Dolly Parton's Imagination Library sends out free books for kids under the age of 5, completely free of charge. Wow, this is a lot better news than I thought I'd be seeing, and that's a push I needed today. Medical research is currently running trials using carton infusions to treat a handful of autoimmune diseases. The infusion is made from the patient's own plasma. It is showing effectiveness on IA diseases that result in specific antibodies that are seen only in the patients with the disease. And it's working. I know this to be true because I'm in the trial. Edit to add link cut-ups. Cart form or a guy in New Hampshire who was secretly a multimillionaire just passed away, and in his will he left his entire fortune, $3.08 million, to his hometown of about 4,200 more. This thread does wonders for my mental health.
Wow, what a bit of positivity does.
People are paying attention to local elections and governance. Not just because of the extremely charged political atmosphere, but because they have started to realize more and more that the government is made up of the people, but it will lead out most of the average people and become an elite, closed-off group if it is allowed to. With realizing this, people have started taking a better interest in it, which leads to some rough times, but does get to wonderful places of closer community as time goes on. If you look to news stories and get past the shock and all bullshit ones, you will see more and more stories of communities getting involved in schools and local government and having success story after success story on it. That gives me a sliver of hope. Honestly, our local New York rep is so good at this. He has gotten streets cleaned up, rats taken care of, composting bins put in, bike lanes implemented. The list goes on. He actually gives a shit and does really practical things everyone wants. Can we have more of these types of posts, please? I'm so used to doom scrolling that I didn't realize how desperately deprived I was of whatever dopamine you could get from good news. But these comments work it up. Thank you, everyone. This is the one time I wish this question was reposted frequently. I need the reminders. A manatee named Romeo, who spent almost his entire life in solitude, beginning in 1956, in a small tank in Miami, has been relocated to Zotampa, where he can live among other manatees and be happy. His mate Juliet, that he hadn't been with the entire time, has also been relocated there. Yeah. Despite a tornado ripping through my town on Saturday, our community has banded together, and there are more volunteers and supplies than the churches and schools can manage. People showing up to serve hot meals, loaning generators, taking in fur babies and cleaning up. Clarksville only sucks sometimes. Detroit is supposedly making a comeback. Can confirm, certain areas are for real pretty nice and a lot of hip businesses have popped up. It's still a very weird city. You have a gorgeous church or historical venue, and 2 doors down, a burned out building. The blight is diminishing though, and it's good to see. Lowest crime in 60 years. Downtown Detroit is having a moment right now. Notice that the Lions are finally good again. God willing, I'm about to celebrate my second Christmas sober. I'm the father and husband my family deserves, and life is worth living. As of 2020, teen pregnancy in the US is down 75% from its 1991 peak. Drought conditions in the West have greatly improved, and lakes and reservoirs are much more filled than they were during the drought. Anyone who lives in states like California can remember how bad the drought was.